isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back. It's another race here this week of the WRL Cup Series. This week we head to sunny Homestead, Miami in southern Florida. I believe, if I remember correctly, Homestead, one of the newer tracks on the NASCAR circuit, opened in 1995, 1.5 miles in length. It's got some 18 to 20 degree bankings out here for our drivers. It's actually a track, one of the few tracks that I've driven quite often in the NASCAR side of things in iRacing. I'm Rob Campbell. This is Racer Nexus. In the booth with me today is Brian Zinn, hopping in to give us a little hand here calling this one. We've got a nice temp out there today, Brian. 84 degree Fahrenheit in the air, 120 degrees track temp. So not
a little bit cool for an August day in southern Florida, but yeah, the racers should enjoy it. Track should be prone to have gripped up with that track temp.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how quickly the tires burn off. Now, I know I looked last week, they only had 2 sets of spare tires. I believe they've added a 3rd set this week. I don't know if it's due to the track temps they were expecting tonight.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You know, the Next Gen car is pretty forgiving on its tires, but then you get on an abrasive track and it seems like it's a cheese grater at times. So we'll see how these drivers manage the tires. Homestead's nice because it can provide a variety of lines, you know, high, middle, low. So we'll see if drivers want to maybe try and make a charge to the front at the sacrifice of some of their tire life.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Last week's racer here on screen, James Jimmy Johnson. He remembered to put his Jimmy Johnson paint paint livery on this week. And it looks like he's having a rough time out there right now, dealing with the track temps, losing the back end there, and then just getting clobbered by one of our drivers. But we're in the middle of practice right now. They've got a few minutes left to go, and then we get into qualifying. 158 laps here in the Buc-ee's 158 at Homestead is what they're calling this one. So it'll be interesting to see the strategy. Last week we had a lot of yellows. I'm told it's a little more yellows than what they normally have. So we'll see if the driving's a little cleaner this week. Couple fewer drivers. I think last week we had about 23 drivers. Looks like right now only 15 drivers in the session this week. So a little more track space out there for our drivers is in. Hopefully that'll allow them a little more space to race door by door.
Yeah, I think it will, especially having multi-groove available to them. It's not going to be a single file race like you see it some of the short tracks, and it's not going to be pack racing like you'll see at Talladega in 2 weeks. So I think it'll be exciting. Homestead is one of my favorite tracks on the NASCAR calendar. I'm excited that it's going to host the championship race again next season for 2026 in real life. So I'm hoping that these guys put on just as good of a show tonight.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering why, I almost said iRacing, why NASCAR got away from having the finale at Homestead. It just seemed like it was just one of those perennial dates you can put on the calendar that the series and was just going to finish up at Homestead every year. And you know, what better place to have it than sunny Florida? You start in Florida, you might as well end it in Florida, right?
I agree. I personally am not a fan of Phoenix. I don't think it's a suitable track for a finale race, but NASCAR execs get paid more money than I do to make those decisions. So they've had their reasons, and that's what we've had to live with. So, but the ship is righted for next year at least.
Yeah, everything will be back good with the universe. But we should give a shout out here as we're on board with Guy Oliveira. To me, it's normally Guy, but they're telling me Guy Oliveira and Chris Toppings. Chris showed up late into the session here. Chris was the sponsor last week for the race, for the broadcast. He's got Guy Oliveira hopping on board too as well to cover this week. So thank you to those two drivers covering the broadcasting side of things. So hopefully we see nice races out of the two of them. Looks like we're getting down to the nitty gritty here in practice, Zin, with only about 7 minutes to go. Jack Humpert, one of our championship contenders here, up top, second place in qualifying in practice right now. He had a nice race going last week. Towards the end, though, I got caught up in a little bit of traffic. Unfortunately, fell back. But speaking of the championships, let's take a look at championship standings coming into this one, as I've just updated it here recently. So Jonathan Pereira hopped up top of Humper. Humper came in last week leading the championship, but as I mentioned, he had that unfortunate incident towards the end of the race, dropped him back a number of spots. He's going to fall to second in the points, just behind Pereira, and then a little ways away or ahead of Eric Stuber there in third place. James Jimmy Johnson in fourth place, Dalton Moore in fifth, Aiden Ondarza, the league in min, in sixth place, Grady Mooney in seventh, Brad Harris, Noah Jones, and Brock Shirley going to round out the top 10. So number of drivers still with potential to take away some points, as we got 3 more races left in the season after this one.
You could throw a blanket over third through eighth, look like they're in the standings. Quite a tight battle and outside of the top 2.
Yeah, I think I didn't see what the point structure was for the league, but I think they're fairly generous with how much points get doled out for top spots each week. So a good race, a couple weeks back to back here. You can definitely move up through the championship fairly quickly. So see how Jack Humbert does this week. Tyler Olson, one of the drivers that we just saw in the top 10 in points, out there trying to find a little extra 10th here or there right now on track. That's a sharp paint scheme on that car, the gold colored Mobile One paint scheme. Really pops.
Yeah, Mobile One did a good job with their, I think it was their 50th anniversary celebration. They did a lot of gold accents on cars that they featured primary sponsors on. I know over on the IMSA side, the Corvettes ran a gold livery, and so did the 2 Lexus cars as well. So it's a classic in my mind.
Yeah, I remember reading something about the Corvettes were going to run the gold livery, but I don't think I ever actually got a chance to take and look and see how that looked up. I was busy that weekend, didn't even catch the race at all, so I'm going to have to go and take a look at that after. As I think a gold-colored Corvette is always a great combination. We see here Chris Toppings. Oh, he's got the Duck Commander paint on for this week, and unfortunately he's going to quack his way into the wall on that one. So he had messaged me early on.
Didn't hide that wreck there.
Yeah, he wasn't able to hide from that one. He messaged me early on, said he was having some issues with his computer, was getting green screens. I can't remember the last time I've gotten a green screen, but I don't know. That doesn't sound good. I'm kind of wondering if that's worse than a blue screen or better. But either way, it looks like he's been able to get that rectified, got himself into session now. So we'll see how he does. Grady Mooney, one of our Mooney brothers, out here driving around trying to get himself acquainted with the track and the conditions this week. So what do you expect to see here, Zin, as far as strategy with the heat and the tires? If we have a long green run, do you think some of our drivers might start to push the front end as the front end wears off with these track temps?
Yeah, I think what we're gonna see is some guys prioritize the tire life if it looks like we're gonna have a green flag run, and maybe run a higher line or something that allows them to not use up as much of those front tires, especially that right front. The logic would be that they can give up a few positions on track, knowing that they're going to make it up in the long run, either through pit cycle or just later run pace. And you might even see that from the get-go. Based on what these guys are seeing in practice and how the track's feeling, they may decide right from the drop of the green to run a conservative strategy, kind of similar to a fuel saving type strategy on the road course side of things, and just say that the fight's not happening now. I want to be at the front with the freshest tires possible near the end of this. So it's, like I said, the great thing about Homestead, it allows for multi-lane racing. So it looks like in practice a lot of guys are running the high line. We might see guys try and be aggressive from the get-go and say, well, if the pack's going to run high, I'm going to run low and try and build a buffer and hold it.
Okay, I just got word here from Dalton Moore in chat. It says they're switching to a new lobby. The league runner messed up the amount of laps, so we'll have to see when that kicks off, and then we'll switch over into that session. So I didn't actually take a look and see what they had set up for laps, but looks like a little bit of an issue on the back end. Still a couple drivers in here in this session, so I assume once they have that up and going, they'll let everybody know. But the tracks is in where you have, I say that as if it's you, but I'm talking about myself here, where I've had to try and save tires. I always seem to struggle with those tracks for some reason. I haven't quite mastered the art of going left and saving the right front tire. I always seem to burn it off very quickly, and it doesn't seem to work out well for me. So I really need to find some time to put in some practice there and get more acquainted on how to save the tires at a track like Homestead in the heat that the drivers are going to see here tonight.
I'll be right there with you. I haven't quite figured it out on the next gen car. I figured it out in the Indy car on oval, but that was more down to how you manage the weight jacket. But on the Gen 6 car, it was a lot easier. I don't want to sound like a broken record compared to fans in real life of NASCAR, but yeah, with the Gen 6 driving so much more off that right rear, it was easier to kind of take the pressure off the right front. But the next gen car just kind of seems to drive a lot more off the front axle. It's going to be based on your steering input, how aggressive you drive it into the corner versus how much you back it off, and just kind of let it roll through the corner. Which, I mean, it's tempting. The car wants to be pushed. It tells you, hey, you can drive me harder in the corner, and then the tire just has a cliff that it falls over, and once you do that, there's no coming back from it.
Yeah, that's the talent that I need to find. So it looks like the lobby is up, the second lobby. So we're just gonna take a quick break here with an ad, and we'll pop out and we'll come back here shortly.
inside. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh,
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. It's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Okay, we're back again. Hopefully we've got the right amount of laps set this time, but our driver's out on track again for a little bit more practice. They got 8 minutes left to go in this one. Actually, looks like we're counting up to, it's kind of odd. My timing is counting up is in, but the overlay is counting down. So that threw me for a little bit of a loop there, but we got a minute to go in practice, and then we'll get underway in qualifying. So I believe
Just iRacing things.
I believe we're running fixed setup. I know I never remember to check, but I think when you're even in fixed setup for NASCAR stuff, you can adjust the tape on the front end. Can you not for qualifying?
Next gens I don't believe have tape, so
Okay.
you can adjust your steering ratio and a few other things, but it's not like the Gen 6 car that you have tape that you can adjust for qualifying.
Excellent. So we'll see who's found that little bit of extra secret sauce out here in practice to find an extra 10th or 2 on track. Looks like we've got, what do we got, 34, 15 drivers in session now. So we picked up another driver just in the switch over, and we lost our co-commentator Brian Zinn, who clicked to join session instead of spectate by accident. So we're down 1, or gained 1 and down 1. It works out in his even trade in the end. We're on board here with Scotty Landing. Scotty popped in to talk to us last week. He had the probably the driver with the worst luck last week, where pretty much every time the caution came out, he had just passed pit entry, and then when he came back around, for some reason, iRacing seemed to be out to get him. They seemed to close the pit entry every time he came back around, so he really had to struggle. He had to get a couple black flags waived because of that. So hopefully a little better luck this week for Scotty, as we're just going to get underway with qualifying here, Zin. So interesting. I know on the NASCAR side, normally your first lap is your quickest. So it'd be interesting to see if some of our drivers go out for 1 lap, come back in and try and shoot back out for another lap. Because if I remember correctly, the second lap usually is a little slower out here with these tires.
Yeah, I think that's right. Contrary to some of the road racing series where your second lap your fastest, the tires are immediately ready to go, and you're going to want to bang out that fast lap as quick as you can.
As we're on board here with Travis Plato out putting in his out lap here, and then we'll see what kind of time Travis can put up on the board here this evening. He's one of the stoop tube cars. We saw the stoop tube cars not exactly have a night to remember last week. I think there was actually some friendly fire last week from a couple of the stoop tube cars. So we'll see if they have a little more team orders here this week without taking each other out. I don't think we see. Yeah, we don't see. Oh, Eric Stuber is in the session here this week. So there he is there, the other stoop tube car. So they got definitely some bright paint schemes. They should be able to see each other out there this evening. Just doing some housekeeping here in the back end. We got some times coming in. James Jimmy Johnson got himself up top with a 34.22, just ahead of Jack Humbert. Actually, about 2/10 ahead of Jack Humbert. Quick lap for James Johnson. Brad Harris got himself in second place, or third place, sorry. Only 6/100ths back of Humbert. Jonathan Pereira 6/100ths back too as well. So fortunately, we can't go to the third decimal to see how close they actually are, but just being 6/100ths apart is fairly close enough as it is. Brock Shirley, another 300s back. Tyler Olson, 400s back of them. So real tight qualifying right now, all amongst our top 8 drivers. You can throw a blanket over them.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah, 200ths of a second, like you were saying, between third and fourth. Looks like they've all ended their qualifying rounds. So good look for the race as we move into the end of qualifying here.
Yeah, it's one thing to go fast in qualifying. It's another thing to find the pace all throughout the 158 laps here at Homestead in the heat. It's really going to be a matter of who saves their tires and stuff, I guess, at the start to push for a little later on. Dustin Mooney, no time on the board yet for him. The final Stoop Tube car, looks like he was waiting for everybody else to put the time on the board, then to go out there and see what he can shoot here as far as a lap time. So running down the backstretch right now into turn 3. See what time he puts in coming out of 4 right now. Set up to run, start about 15th place, so he'd like to move up there a little farther towards the front. See what kind of time here he puts on the board as he heads across the line. It's going to put him at 37.53. That's going to put him in 12th place right now. He'll be starting right behind League Min Aiden Undarza. And it looks like Dustin Moody was our final driver on track. So we still got a few minutes to go here in qualifying. So we'll have to just kind of wait for that to click over, and then we'll see what's shaking. Let's take a look here at our conditions as we've switched sessions just to see if track temps picked up at all. Oh, look at that. Track temp has gone up another 9 degrees Fahrenheit here from the previous session. Virtually the same air temp, 84 degrees, 128 degree track temp. So we were talking earlier, with that heat, our drivers are really going to have to be cautious not to burn off the right front tire. They're going to have to be extra cautious now, as in not to burn that off, as it's going to be a little bit like frying an egg on the asphalt out there with that hot, sticky rubber.
Absolutely.
So it looks like nobody else on track. That's going to pretty much end qualifying. Once the clock ticks over, we can have a look at our grid. But I can tell you right now, provisionally, James Johnson is going to be sitting on the top spot in the poll. Jonathan Pereira is going to start to his outside. Dalton Moore and Jack Humbert going to make up row 2. So it'll be interesting to see. James Johnson won last week. I'm trying to remember who he worked with all throughout the race. They pretty much worked together, stayed out front the entire time. They were actually in the chat, James told us afterwards, strategizing, working together. So we'll see if James can pick up another draft partner this week to keep him up front. He's going to start up front, so it's just a matter of staying up there. But clock's ticked over here. Let's take a look at how our field is going to grid up for this one. As in, why don't you take us through the top page of the grid?
Yeah, we've got James Johnson starting on pole with Jonathan Pereira starting to his outside. Dalton Moore and Jack Humbert will make up row 2. We got Guy Oliveira. I always think of Free Guy when I hear that name. Starting in P5 with Brad Harris to his side in P6. Brock Shirley and Tyler Olson will make up row 4. Then we got Eric Stuber and Travis Plato in row 5. And Aiden Undarza and Dustin Mooney in row 6.
And then rounding out the grid is going to be Noah Jones in 13th, Joseph Dormus in 14th, Scotty Landings in 15th, and Christopher Toppings going to round out the 16-car grid here this evening. Looks like all of our drivers are getting gridded up here now. We're just waiting for the pace car to pull away, and then be set here for 158 laps at Homestead. What are you expecting into turn 1s in? Last week was fairly clean. Actually, we were clean for a good, I want to say 15 minutes or so into the race before something kicked off. So I expect more or less the same. Usually when you get into these league type races, they're a little cleaner than official starts as you're racing with the guys week in, week out.
Yeah, that's kind of my sentiment as well. You usually expect cleaner racing in leagues than you would see in officials. So I wouldn't expect any crazy moves in the first few laps or so. Guys will be figuring out how their cars are handling in a pack. It's, very rarely something that you can experience in practice. So once these cars get up to speed and start getting in the draft on the backstretch and feel that air buffering around them, they'll probably figure out how their cars are handling. So I would expect probably the first 5-10 laps, everybody's going to stay where they're at unless somebody just has a bad run out of a corner.
Yeah, I I hope for our sake they do. I don't want to see half the field wiped out into turn 1 early on, but pace car is off. Arnie, the flag man's got the green flag ready to go. And there we go. Green is out, waving it away. Oh, and there we go. We already had a wreck early on. And we are yellow already. That is, unfortunately, looks like half of our field got wrapped up in that one. So
that might be the worst case of commentator's curse I've been a part of.
Looks like even our pole sitter, James Johnson, got wrapped up in that one. So I'm not sure what happened there, but we'll take a quick replay here so I can find where it all kicked off. But yeah, it looks like the majority of the field unfortunately got wrapped up in that one. So let's take another look here. What went down, as in?
Yeah, it looks like somebody spun some tires, maybe? Actually. Somebody's starting in first gear, maybe? It looked like 2 separate incidents that were happening there.
Yeah, it looked like Jonathan Pereira on the outside of the pole. We'll take another look at that. Spun the tires and went due left into our pole sitter, Jimmy Johnson. Or James Johnson, sorry. And then he got collected up there. And then at the same time, in behind...
Yeah, the Build Submarines car.
Yeah, at the same time in behind, one of the Stoop Tube cars. Trying to make his way through. Oh, looks like he almost made it through and then kicks it into the wall. But yeah, I don't think anybody got out of that without damage.
Well, that's certainly a way to start a race, isn't it, there, Rob?
Yeah, it's. I'm not sure if these guys have a fast repair or not, but man, that's one for the record books for sure. It's going to be interesting now to see with virtually every car with some damage on it. Actually, looks like Jack Humbert may have been the only car that made it through without any damage. I was saying how he was unlucky towards the end of last week's race, but looks like his luck has turned around here, as I believe he and possibly Dalton Moore. Looks like Dalton's got a little damage on the front end there, but I think Jack Humbert, possibly Brock Shirley, are only cars to make it through without much damage on that one.
Yeah, and with no fast repairs, these guys are going to have to spend time in the pits for sure, trying to get as much repaired under while the pace car's going around and trying not to go a lap down.
Yeah, I think luckily though, I think there wasn't any real heavy impacts. A lot of light tap. I couldn't really get much of a heavy impact. They weren't really going all that quick, to be honest. But I don't think anybody got real severe damage. We got a number of cars in the pits already. Brad Harris here. Noah Jones in there too as well. James Johnson in there. Oh, the ambulance is picking somebody up for the infield care. He's got his lights going, but Jonathan Pereira in track 2 as well. So our front row of the grid, both of them in the pits right now. Pereira going to come back out to join the field. It looks like Noah Jones, Johnson coming out too as well. So they're going to get out just ahead of the pace car. Let's take a look and see. Looks like Johnson still a fair bit of damage on the front end of that car. Looks like he might have had the worst for the wear out of that one.
Yeah, which is really crazy when you think about starting on pole and not really a lot of cars to run into, and somehow he comes off the worst of any of the cars involved.
Yeah, you would think that with all the cars behind him, he would have had rear damage, but I think if I remember correctly, he got spun around, and one of the other cars that spun out in front of him was right there, unfortunately. But
either that or he hit the inside wall, which I guess that's the lesson of the night. It's better to hit another car than it is hit a stationary wall.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's the last yellow we have for a little bit here, but it's going to be a long race otherwise, as we've done more laps under caution than we have green. So Jack Humbert going to start up top. Dalton Moore, actually the front end of that car, looking a little more punched in as we see it from that angle there. So we're going to start single file this time by. Hopefully that should give us a little more leadway into turn 1 without having a wreck. So pace car off. We're ready to go green again here now.
Caught out for passing on the inside.
Like
well, they made it further than the start.
We're good. Jack Humbert got off to a huge lead over Dalton Moore and Brock Shirley in behind. Looks like everybody taking a little more caution here this time, not to spin up the tires. This time's in. Getting on track or lead him in. Aiden Andarza here battling with Eric Stuber in the Stube Tube car. Stuber going to move up ahead of him, but Tyler Olson trying to move on the bottom side too of Andarza. as well. Looks like Andarza trying to get that top line working early on, but looks like right now, bottom line working a little better.
Yeah, it looks like Dustin Mooney had a spin coming off of turn 2, maybe. Kept it going, though, so no caution.
Yeah, it looks like falling to the back of the pack here right now for Mooney, but let's take a quick look here. What happened to him? Oh, yeah, again, just kind of lost the front end. Keeps it on the bottom, though, avoids everybody, but and even off the wall, so just time lost from them, time lost for him. No real damage on the car, so he'll be hoping for another quick yellow, but Jack Humbert up to a huge lead right now, almost 2 seconds over the rest of the field. Now, I mentioned he was probably the only driver to make it through without any damage, and it looks like right now he's taking advantage of that car that is clean.
That's what I'd be doing. I'd be trying to keep it clean and putting as fast a pace as I can to run away from those guys.
And meanwhile, we got this battle for second place. Dalton Moore holding on to that spot. Brock Shirley trying to go to the top side here, working his way around the outside. Again, looks like the bottom's still working a little better right now as Dalton Moore able to open up a tenth or two over Shirley. Shirley gonna have to stay tucked into the draft there, so looks like into turn 1, top might be working a little better for Shirley as he's finding that pace up top. So maybe in 1 and 2, it looks like the top side might be working a little better compared to in 3 and 4.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking. The high side around here maybe be the preferred line, and we'll see if that changes as the tires start to wear off. But as we see Brock Shirley dive down the inside, I think that's really how guys are going to try and make moves early on in this race is take advantage of people running up against the wall and just dive down there.
Yeah, I should also mention that Dalton Moore has that punched in front end too as well, where it looks like Brock Shirley's car a little clean, well, a lot more cleaner on the front. Looks like maybe a little scuff on the right side, but we've got another caution out here. Looks like Eric Stuber and possibly Guy Oliveira might have crashed, but I think it was Stuber that brought out the yellow flag. Let's see what happened to him. Oh, yeah, up into the wall, rubbing down the wall. Not sure if he had contact with Oliveira, who had an incident earlier on, so let's take a look here. Oops, that's not it. That's the pass. Here's Oliveira. Oliveira running the top side. He's going to lose the back end too as well. Come down, but no contact with Stuber, but definitely some contact into the sand barrels on the inside there, as we saw Stuber up on the wall on the outside there. So unfortunate for those two drivers, heavy damage on both of them.
Yeah, not a good week again, but yeah, it's hard to. That's the danger of this car. Sometimes is you don't really have much feel for the back end, and you just drive into the corner, and next thing you know, you're staring sideways out the window.
Yeah, I've noticed a trend so far in this race, Brian, where it looks like a lot of the drivers are really struggling to keep the back end behind them on new tires too as well. That's usually something you see as the tires wear down a little bit. So I wonder if that's the heat playing a little bit of a role here, or possibly, well, we know we got a number of cars that have some damage on them that could be playing a role too as well. But it seems like a lot of the drivers really struggling to get that off corner back into the throttle pace, and they're losing the back end there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is I'm wondering if with the track being hotter than it was in the first practice session that these guys had, it's just catching some of them out.
Could be. Aiden Andarza, though, let's take a look at his car. He is the league admin. I only saw a little bit of a tap with another car on him at that start, the lead wreck. It looks like his car fairly clean. He's up 7 spots right now into 4th, but Joseph Dormus, car ahead of him, up 11 spots right now. Joseph with a little bit of damage on the right front. It looks like one of our Stube Tube cars. So we'll see how he's able to get on throttle here once we go back green, if he's able to use that advantage right now over on Darza, or if on Darza with the cleaner car we'll be able to get a look through the air a little quicker. We'll see once that happens as we go green here again, but spent the majority of the race here so far is in under yellow.
Yeah, I didn't expect this at Homestead, but it can happen. It'll be interesting for some of these guys that get more damage repaired if they're able to make their way back up the field.
Yeah, one of those drivers looks like Noah Jones. His car looking like it's pretty much back to a snuff here. So See what kind of pace he has coming up through the field. The lights are off on the pace car, so we're going to be going green again this time by. Looks like we're going back to double file start. Hopefully nobody spins up their tires this time and cuts over to the left. So Jack Humbert going to have Brock Shirley to his outside. A couple of cars looking fairly clean up at the front. See if Shirley gets a better jump this time than what we saw with the car that was on the outside of Humbert last time. I believe that was who was that off the top of my head? Pereira, I believe it was last time, to his outside. So down the back stretch they go. What are you expecting to see here as we go back greens?
I don't know. This race has not gone anywhere like I thought it would go. So we'll see if they can keep it clean, and if guys don't have any issues with the back end coming around on as they're getting back up to speed.
Yeah, we've got a couple cars running down the back straight trying to catch up with the pack, so they can time that right. They might be full green once we go back, full throttle once we go back green. Just going to see if they can charge up through the field, but the pace car is off. Barney's got the green flag waiting for the field. So far so good. Hummer going to get a nice jump. Let's see how it works out a little farther back the field. I hear somebody up against the wall. It might have been Aiden Andarza. He was right tight up to the wall, but everybody carrying on right now. So much better start than what we had earlier. Everybody's going. Tyler Olson's car showing a little bit of damage, but Jack Humbert going to get out to a huge lead again early on. Oh, we've got something going off and behind again. Scotty Landing's
Scotty
around.
Landing.
Yeah. Might have been Brad Harris involved in that too as well. See if we can get.
Man, you would think that they're racing at Bristol with all these cautions so far in the first 14 laps.
It's been rough. Scotty Landing in the middle there. Oh, looks like he just got up high, got into Aiden Andarza, and unfortunately, that's all it took there. Looked like he took a whole lot of damage, though. Fortunately for him, just a little bit of a punch in the side, but.
Yeah, it looks like he just came up and tried to clear himself, and don't know if he got a call from this spotter saying he was clear high or just misjudged coming off the corner there, but either way, ended up in the wall with a crumpled right front fender for his troubles.
Yeah, let's see if we can go on board here with Aiden and Darza and see what he saw. Oh, I have to go back a little bit here. Oh, it already happened. Okay. We'll have to see if we can catch it a little bit later, but more cars coming into the pits here to get some repairs. Brad Harris, he's trying to get that thing fixed up. Our pole sitter, James Jimmy Johnson, into as well. Front end of that car still crying out for some help, but we might have more cars in the infield care center here than we see at the checkered flag at the rate this is going.
Yeah. But what's the time limit on this lobby expiring?
I'm not sure, but 105 laps. We've done 15 of them, and I think 13 of them have probably been under yellow. I have a feeling, though, we've worked out all the kinks. Everybody's aware of the track temps now, how the tires are going to react. I suspect we're going to have a nice long green flag run here once we get going.
I like the sound of that, Rob.
That's my prediction. We were talking about everybody possibly crashing earlier on, and then they crashed. So we're going to go positive this time. We're going to have a nice long green flag run. We're going to see some nice battles here. All of our drivers with damage are going to get those cars fixed up and head back out on track. And that's how I'm feeling. I'm calling it. I'm putting it out in the universe there, Zin. That's what I'm going with.
Lick it and send it.
It's in the mail. So the lights should come out on the pace car here as they cross the line, and then we'll be going green again. There they go. Lights are out. Still got a couple cars in the pits. James Johnson, that car still looking heavily damaged on the front end. I'm surprised they haven't been able to repair a little more of that car for every time he's come into the pit stop. It doesn't seem like he's coming out with a whole lot cleaner car than he's been going in with.
Yeah, that could be either he's just not one to risk going a lap down with the pace car, or it's just iRacing visuals, not one to update until everything's done being fixed.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I've seen that happen before where, let's say you got about 10 seconds of repairs left, but you come out and the car looks like it's been through a war.
I've also had times where in team events on a teammate's screen, it looks like a car's completely missing a a body panel, but on the person in the car screen, it's completely fully repaired and everything's operational. So we'll chalk it up to an iRacing thing. That's the other theme of the night, apparently.
We need some iRacing arcade graphics here right now.
Absolutely. That was the surprise of the week, wasn't it?
I just hope that that's not their big reveal for what's coming for next season is, hey, look, we brought out iRacing Arcade and you're not getting any new content, but we're ready to go green here again. Jack Humbert going to lead them to the line. Again, he's getting a nice big jump and open up a gap over Brock Shirley early on, but looks like the rest of the field got away clean. Let's put in some green flag laps here now. We've got Aiden Undarza going down below Dalton Moore. Dalton Moore getting a nice run up on the top side. He's going to take that spot away from Undarza. Undarza now has Travis Plato in behind, another one of these tube cars go on board here with Plato. See the field, the various lines that they're actually taking there. So you can see a lot of cars up top, one up into the wall. I think that might have been Brock Shirley up into the wall there, putting a stripe on the side of his car. A little bit of damage on the right front from that.
Yeah, who says the Wall of Champions is only in Montreal, right?
Oh, we're gonna go 3 wide here. It's like the 24 of Dalton Moore. Sorry, not Dalton Moore. That was Noah Jones. Thought about making it 3 wide, backed out at the last second. Dalton Moore is going to come in and take that spot away. Dalton Moore on a heater right now, picking up a number of spots. Got around Undarza early. He's got himself around Jones, working underneath Shirley now as well. Looks like he's going to take that spot away down the front straight. Joseph Dormus is going to be the next car up ahead if he can make this pass stick on Shirley. Shirley fighting back on the top side. So looks like we're starting. Oh, no. No, hold on to it, Dalton. He's going to save it. We almost saw another car go around. So nice save by him. It's going to cost him a ton of position, but that's going to keep us still under greens. And
much to the happiness of everybody on track, we stay green.
Go on board here with Chris Toppings, one of our broadcast partners for the evening. He's got Dalton Moore up ahead of him. Dalton, who we just saw get a little loose there. On board here with Chris, you can kind of hear how much they're having to lift in the corners not to lose the back ends, and that seems like an awful lot compared to what you normally have at Homestead. But now that I think of it, I think anytime I've really run Homestead, as we see Toppings get up into the wall, anytime I've run Homestead, it's usually more of an evening race or night race. I wonder if that's just because of the sheer track temps, and iRacing usually has the run at nighttime.
Yeah, Southern Florida in the daytime is not going to be pleasant. So I'm sure that probably plays a factor into when they run the races in real life.
Yeah, it's pool weather right now. You're normally sitting by the pool in the afternoon, then you go to the racetrack in the evening in Miami, and out to the nightclub after, right, where you see all the stars. But the star right now in this one is Jack Humbert. Continues to open that gap up ahead, now up to 2 seconds, just over 2 seconds over Joseph Dormus. Dormus as well doing well. He's opened up a nice 2-second gap over Brock Shirley, but as we picked up Dormus, he might just kiss the wall with the right rear coming out of turn 3 as they head to the front line. So our driver's still struggling with the back end grip of these cars. So on board here with Dalton Moore. Saw him charging up through the field and pushed a little heavy. Had to gather up the back end, but he's back on Travis Plato's tail. So he's going to pop in and get a little draft. He's going to dive underneath into turn 3. He is. He's going to make that pass stick. Looks like Plato getting the better run up on the high side. So I'm wondering now if the track temps is in, if maybe the high side a little safer right now. They can run a little higher and keep in the throttle a little more, not have to lift as much into the corner using the bottom side, keep a little more grip there and not have to worry so much with the back end swinging around on them. This looks like Dalton Moore still really having to breathe the throttle through the corners.
Yeah, this is that multi-groove action that I was looking forward to that Homestead always produces, and it really boils down to how you're feeling in the car. If you feel you can be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more on the edge and keep the back end planted, then you can go for that move on the low side and try and get a drive off the corner. But being up high, you're able to defend and be able to roll into the power a little bit earlier than the guy on the bottom side.
For sure. We've got Stan Hammonds in chat. Stan saying Homestead's rough on tires. Got to go for a nice conservative Fendi Racing pace. Fendi Racing. He's a guy who we've run league races with in the past, and he started a whole Fendi racing empire. But Stan Hammond also mentioned he thought Joseph Dormus was supposed to have a vacation this week. I'll have to take a look at that. There was some penalties doled out last week. I can't remember if Joseph Dormus did get a week vacation or not, but that'll be interesting if he did and he's in here. I'm going to suspect maybe that was retracted since he's in the session, but I'll have to see if there's any kind of post-race penalties right now. So go on board with Brock Shirley, currently our 3rd place car. He's trying to chase down Joseph Dormus up ahead. A couple tube cars sitting in 2nd and 3rd place. Aiden Undarza, the Scrub Daddy machine. Looks like he used the Scrub Daddies. We told him he's going to need to scrub off the bad luck from his car last week. That Scrub Daddy sponsorship came in handy. Looks like he's been able to rub off the bad luck, and he's now chasing down Brock Shirley up ahead. Let's go on board here with Undarza and see how quickly he's reeling in Brock Shirley up ahead.
Yeah, sticking with that traditional high line, which is a blend of tire saving and keeping up the pace. Kind of dumping out of the draft there, which is a little surprising on the run down to turn 3 here. Kind of running in the middle of the track. Looks like guy he's chasing down is running real up close to the wall. It looks like he's give a fist bump to the wall coming out of 4 up there.
Yeah, it looks like a Brock Shirley we're on board here with right now. Really struggling to get into the throttle mid-corner there. Aiden Undarza really closing up the gap. Seems to be mid-corner is where Undarza looks like he's a little better. So he's closing that gap in. So another couple laps here. I think he's going to be right on the tailpipe of Brock Shirley. But once he gets into that thick of that dirty air, I mentioned that now, Undarza going down below. Looks like he might be able to make the move down the front straight. As you can see, once he gets into that dirty air, he might stall out a little bit. But he still has a bit more pace than Shirley, although Shirley getting the better run out of turn 4.
Yeah, it's clear that Aiden's got the pace over the last few laps. That gap that he's closed on Shirley has come down massively. So we'll see if he tucks up in the draft here down the backstretch and heading into turn 3 and see if he stays up high or if he's going to look a little low.
Okay, I have confirmed Joseph Dormus received an end-of-line penalty, not a 1-week sussy. So he is safe to go, Stanimal. So thanks for pointing that out.
All
in
the
chat.
cautions we had,
confirmed.
that end-of-line penalty kind of was
It might have been the
washed
worst
away
place
real
to be,
easy.
actually, though, because you would have had to go through the whole pack on the start there. But oh, we've got another yellow here. I didn't catch what happened. Looks like might have been Jimmy Johnson. James Johnson might have had another wreck here. Let's see what happened to him. Oh, it's a connection issue for him there. Let's see if we can try and see. Unfortunately, he's going to blink back in once he's already wrecked. Let's see if we can try and catch it again this way. Or if maybe it was just a iRacing netcode connection issue that kind of threw him for a loop there. But unfortunately, once he blinks back in, he's already going sideways and head towards the wall. So pace car back out. They're getting more miles on the pace car than I don't know what their lease plan is on this old, I don't know what that is. Looks like an early 2000s Mustang they've got out there. So the lease is probably up on it, but if they were trying to keep a low mileage, rarely used, I know what I got. Don't lowball me car here. The amount of laps they're putting on the pace car here this evening is going to affect that value. But Joseph Dormus got himself up into 2nd place, canceling out his end-of-line penalty right now. He's got teammate Brock Shirley in the tube car in behind him. Aiden Undarza, our league and min. Holding down 4th place, Dalton Moore. We saw with some pace early on. Had that little oh my moment, gathered it back up, got it collected in. Noah Jones has his car in for repairs, back out. That Jeff Gordon paint theme machine. So we got some Hendrix fans out here tonight. We got Noah Jones in the Gordon paint theme. We got James Johnson in the Jimmy Johnson paint theme. So we need some Childress cars out here. We need some Ganassi cars. Go for the whole NASCAR paint theme session.
Yeah, it's good to see those old school paint schemes still loved and adored by drivers on iRacing.
So we got a number of cars. Oh, there's A terrible promo for the Stube Tube cars. Both of them in the pits getting some repairs. Dustin Mooney in there too as well, another Stube Tube car. I'm starting to wonder if this whole session is Stube Tube cars. Looks like this week it's Stube Tube versus everybody right now. Jack Humbert.
Well, how do you improve your luck from last week? You increase the number of cars, so one of them's got to hit, right?
That's right. It's like when you go to the craps table and you just put it on black, red, and just throw it in the middle of all of them. You're bound to win sooner or later. Just got to make sure you bet enough to come out even in the end.
Yep.
So I believe the lights are off on the pace car. They are, so we should be going green again here now, as we're slowly creeping up on the halfway point of this one. Jack Humbert going to lead them around again. I suspect he's probably going to get a nice jump again this time. We'll see if Joseph Dormus is ready for him this time. Oh, as it sounds like somebody just blew their engine in the pits.
I heard that as well, and I didn't want to think bad things, but it's hard not to when you hear that, lovely sound.
Still seeing a number of cars in there. I'm not sure who it was off the top of my head, but I believe Eric Stuber, Dustin Mooney, and James Johnson all still in the pits. James Johnson coming back out. That car's still looking a little worse for the wear, but he's going to join the pack towards the end. Looks like we're going double file again this time. So I tried to give them good luck last time's in. I'm going to put it out there again too as well. Looking for a green flag run. And I think we're going to get Humbert getting a good jump again. Dormus and Shirley going to be left to battle it out for second into turn one. Stube 2 cars top and bottom, the 10 and the 4. Looks like the 10 of Shirley going to get the better run through turn 2. See if Dormus is able to get the better run up on the high side. He's going to take that spot back. Brock Shirley going to tuck in behind, try and get some draft off Dormus up ahead as they head into turn 3 and 4. Oh, Dormus up against the wall. Sparks coming off. Looked like it cost him much time, though. I believe I heard in the first session that Aiden and Darza, the league admin, had mentioned that they were banning wall riding. So, I'm not sure if the Stube 2 cars got the message there, as they're heavily riding the wall. But they had made mention to avoid wall riding at all costs, and I'm not sure if it's really a strategy at Homeland, but they were banning it outright. So
they're not wall riding; they're just doing some weight reduction, scraping some of that vinyl off the right side.
Yeah, every kilogram or ounce helps, right? So you see
Absolutely.
Aiden and Darza battling with Noah Jones. Jones going to take that spot away, come up and clear on Darza, and Darza looking back down under the inside of turn 1. You've seen Darza do real well into turn 1 and 2. That's where he was making up a ton of time on Brock Shirley, I believe it was, early on. But Darza restarted this one in 4th, but he's fallen back to 6th right now, Zen.
It's looking like it's gotten a bit cloudy, so I'm wondering if that's allowing these guys to get a little bit more racy on the groove in the bottom.
Well, let's take a look. Our track temp has come down a ton. We're down to 99 degrees Fahrenheit now on the track temp, so that's definitely going to help our drivers. We came into the session at 128 degrees, so 29 degrees drop in track temp, only 2 degrees off on the air temp. So I think you're right. It looks like the sun is starting to come down. We are at almost 6:30 p.m. on the sim time, so definitely the sun's starting to set. That's going to help our drivers here with maintaining those tires as the track temps come down. We got Scotty Lanning and Travis Plato battling it out in behind. Scotty on the bottom side in the body armor car. Plato, one of our Stube Tube cars, up top. Plato looks like he's trying to get the run up the outside. Lanning holding tight on the bottom. We're going to go 2 by 2 down the back stretch. Looks like Plato going to get that spot away from Lanning, though. Lanning looks like he's getting more pace on the bottom. Hope be able to hug that bottom line where Plato really bleeding out. Oh, I see that. And then Lanning, oh no, he loses the front end up into the wall. He's got some definitely toe issues on the front end. That right front definitely towed in. No yellow flag, though. He's going to keep it on track. Unfortunately for him, he would have loved to see a yellow But he's going to have to try and drive that around until we get another yellow and try and get some repairs. So unfortunate for him.
Yeah, if he didn't have front end issues before, he definitely does now.
Yeah, he's going to be feeling that one. But it looks like Jack Humbert, I'm not sure if he's gone into a little bit of a tire save mode here, but he's being caught by Joseph Dormus. I say that Dormus getting high into the wall. Looks like Humbert maybe seeing what's happening to everybody else in the field here is deciding he's going to back off a little bit, try and save those tires, where it's like everybody else in the field really pushing for every last tenth and hundredth that they can find out here. As you see again, Dormus going up and trying to knock the wall down. That right front of his car is going to definitely be about 1.5 inches narrower than what it was when he started out. Oh, into the wall again.
Yeah, I think this is playing out like we were talking in the pre-race show, where Humbert's choosing to sacrifice a little bit of time and distance to Dormus behind him in the hopes that come to, 20, 30 laps from now, he'll be in a much better position.
I'm starting to wonder now if this is actually intentional by Dormus, because it's almost every corner he's getting up in there, brushing the wall and coming back out on track. Look, again, he did it there, come back down. I'm going to have to say that's got to be intentional. I don't think you would do it every single lap at this point in time, so I'm not sure what kind of
Speaking of guys that
there.
didn't get the no wall riding memo, we need to check and see if Dormus's email is active.
Yeah, I got lost in the mail. Sorry, the postal carrier didn't show up this week, but so he's going to keep it off the wall this time by. But you do that 4 or 5 laps in a row, every corner, just a little kiss off the wall each time. I'd have to say that was almost intentional. We'll see if he does it again here. Again, up into the wall. So yeah, I'm going to say that's intentional at this point in time. But we'll go back to this battle here between Brock Shirley. Looks like Shirley doing the same thing. That other Stube Tube car as well. Kind of a little kiss off the wall each time by. He's getting a run on the 9 car. That's a lap car of Brad Harris. He's going to move around him. The car he's trying to chase down is Dalton Moore just ahead. The 18 machine in the Budweiser paint theme up ahead. So see if he's able to chase him down. He's not going to be able to use the high side and get off the wall, as right now that lap car of Brad Harris is keeping him honest.
Yeah, no blue flags in iRacing. Generally lap down cars pick a line. Oh, Shirley's gonna lose it coming off of turn 2 there. Keeps it going, roll, no caution.
Yeah, nice save by him. I don't want to curse it, but I was gonna say we've had probably our longest green flag run right now, but that's gonna allow Aiden Undarza to close that gap on him, the Scrub Daddy machine. It looked like he backed out early on once we went back green again, potentially trying to save his tires too, as well as we're seeing Jack Humbert try and do up a front. So wonder if these two are in chat, possibly talking a little bit of strategy, as they both had kind of similar strategy here when we went back greens, and where they kind of backed out of the pace a little bit, trying to save their car, their tires and their car. And it looks like Undarza really capitalizing that now as he's really closing up on Brock Shirley. We saw him just before the last yellow starting to close up on Shirley too as well. So it looks like Undarza a little more set up here for the longer runs, saving the tires a little better. And it's coming to fruition as the run goes on.
Yeah, these drivers will be figuring out how the cars are handling. It's the longest green flag run of the night, and some of these guys are still nursing some damage as well, so it's going to affect the handling of the cars, and really trying to figure out if they want to be aggressive and try and make up track position, or conserve and try and maybe have a shorter pit stop whenever we do a green flag pit stop, or if we have another caution.
Yeah, I'm just having a look here. It looks like all of our drivers have been in at some point in time to get some service, other than our leader, Jack Humbert. Second place, Joseph Dormus. Fifth place, Aiden Undarza, and fourth place, Brock Shirley. The rest of the field has been in at some point in time for service. So those drivers all definitely still on their original tires, plus the fuel load they had. So they've got to be getting close to the end of their run here as far as fuel. So they'll be crossing their fingers, I guess, soon here's in for another yellow, so they can pop in and get some service to their car. Now, I think they'd like to get, if they get to the halfway point, they can just one-stop this race, as they've been able to show that they can save their equipment here for a longer run and try and get to the end. So it'll be interesting to see when that yellow comes out, what kind of strategy unfolds.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've done a long length NASCAR race on iRacing, so I'm not quite familiar with the fuel mileage of these cars, but I would suspect at a track like Homestead, it's going to be the tires giving up before the fuel runs out.
Yeah, well, we saw early on, even when we had those super high track temps, that only a couple laps in, our drivers were always struggling with the rear grip. So yeah, you're definitely nailing the nail on the head there with as far as the tires giving up. It looks like Jack Humbert now starting to eke away from Joseph Dormus, as Dormus got a little squirrely heading out of turn 2, had to gather it up on the back straight. So he's started to he's keeping a car off the wall now, so I don't know if he's got the broadcast going in the background. He heard us calling him out for kissing the wall, but looks like he's altered his driving line there now, trying to stay off the wall for the most part, and it's dropped him back a little bit from Jack Humbert up front, but he's got a nice gap between he and Dalton Moore. Brock Shirley another 5 seconds back of Dalton Moore. That was a lot of that due to that spin. We saw him have to collect up out of turn 2, but he's got it gathered back up. Aiden Andarza was putting some pressure on him, but Andarza kind of held steady once he got to about 5/10, 6/10 back. Once he got into the dirty air, he's had a hard time really closing the rest of that gap.
Yeah, and if I'm Dalton Moore here, I may, depending on the pace of Harris in front of him, work with him and try and close that gap to Dormus in front. Use the draft of the lap down car in front of him and maybe save some tires in the process. Now, granted, if the lap down car is much slower, you don't want to get held up by him, but doesn't make sense to me personally to burn up the tires and drive it in deep and on the bottom of the corners if you can't clear them. So
yeah, it looks like Harris, I'm not sure how many laps down he is. Looks like he's the second car, 1 lap down right now, so he's trying to get up there to get the lucky dog, I guess, if caution were to come out. So but yeah, definitely if I was Dalton Moore, I'd be trying to stay on the coattails there, but it looks like Harris with definitely fresher tires able to just pull away from Dalton Moore. Dalton Moore probably doing all he can just to keep the pace up he has right now.
yeah, it looks like Dormus is seeing the other side of that coin from running hard on those few laps when he was closing down the gap to Humbert. Looks like the tires are kind of going away from him a little bit, and he's had to back off to keep it from just plowing straight on into the wall.
Yeah, as we see our leader Humbert going by there now, there goes Dormus, Harris, and Moore. Looks like everybody's starting to get into a little bit of a comfortable pace. The sun going down now. You can see the sun setting on the track. That's probably going to affect our drivers as they head into, I think it's turn 1 where you're heading in towards the sun. So let's go on board here with Jack Humbert and see. Oh, actually, it looks like the sun's already gone down behind the grandstand, so should be okay for them. Maybe coming out of turn 3 into turn 4 possibly, but the lights are up, track temp coming down. Interesting to see is the back half of the race. We're now just past the halfway mark, as in we've made it. We'll see if we can go a little farther on green flag before we get another caution.
Yeah, it looks like Noah Jones came in for a green flag pit stop, or maybe was fixing some damage just a couple laps down. But I expect that we'll probably start to see the field make their way down pit road and start seeing some shuffling of standings here. As we see Dormus letting the lap down car of Harris go by. Ooh, and slam into the wall in turn 1 there.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that eventually that's going to knock the toe out. Well, if he hasn't knocked the toe out of the right front already, that's definitely going to be doing it even more. That car is going to be ill handling. Now it's a matter of Dalton Moore chasing them down as Dormus been banging off that wall.
Yeah, that didn't look like a strategic wall ride. That looked like a tire screaming for mercy wall bang there, and it's allowed Moore to close in behind him as we see Dormus ride up the track again. Definitely looks like Moore has either been doing a much better job saving his tires or is on fresher tires with this green flag run that we've had.
Moore is on fresher tires. He pit on lap 10. He's the only driver of our top 5 that has pit, so he's definitely on a little bit fresher tires, but Looks like Dorman's going to try the bottom. I think he might just be letting Moore go by here. Oh, I thought he was. We came back up top there, but yeah, it's definitely a tire issue for Joseph Dormus right now as he's trying to go from the bottom all the way up to the top, trying to keep as much pace as he can through turn 1 and 2. But unfortunately, those tires, as you mentioned, screaming for mercy right now from Joseph Dormus.
Yeah, 10 lap pressure tires is going to make a heck of a difference, especially if they've been able to not be used up with all those caution laps we had early on in the race, and they've been living life under a cooler track. So I expect him to mount a challenge to Jack Humbert here for the lead here in a few laps.
Yeah, right now Dalton Moore sitting about just under 6.5 seconds back. So the longer this green flag run goes, you should be able to see him close down a little bit on Humbert. But 10 laps may not sound like a whole lot, but 10 laps under the heavy heat that we had to start the race, definitely going to be a big difference. But Aiden Andarza still trying to find a way around Brock Shirley. We pop back to Andarza here. We saw him rubbing up against the wall. Andarza now has gone to the top line. He's traditionally been kind of bottom middle, trying to find a little extra pace up on the top, where interesting enough, Shirley now just ahead of him has gone to the bottom, where we've seen him early on trying to maintain the top pace. So both these drivers switching lines on tracks and trying to find a little extra.
Yeah, and just looking at last lap times, they're all running about the same pace, which is either credit to Jack Humbert and Joseph Dormus and Brock Shirley to eke out that pace still from the tires, or it's credit to Dalton Moore that he's realized that he can match the pace of those guys and just keep the life on the tires a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's sun setting pretty quick here as we're now fully under the lights.
Yeah, I say that, and Dalton Moore ran 2/10 faster than Jack Humbert last lap, so
yeah, he's got that gap down to 4 seconds now, so closing that gap in quickly. But again, I wonder if it's just a matter of Humbert backed off to save his equipment, and it'll be interesting to see once Dalton Moore gets to maybe a second and a half back if Jack Humbert starts to pick up the pace again. But still a ways to go for that to happen, although Dalton Moore eking that gap a little smaller each and every corner that he goes into. It's now under 4 seconds, that gap, but Jack Humbert still comfortably out front as he's been from the start. Car looking clean, one of the only cars that hasn't really suffered any kind of damage here. The Motorcraft 64 looking clean and white up front.
yeah, and kind of tip of the hat to Dalton Moore too, because he had that spin that he saved the car from going fully around too, which he's recovered from and is able to mount the charge back to the front of the field.
Pop back here.
Looks like last lap Dalton Moore was 0.3 faster than Humbert, so that gap is down to about 3.8 now.
Yeah, we can take a look here if I can find it. There we go. Last laps between Humbert and Moore. You can see there 3 out of the last 5 laps it's been in Moore's hand, and it's been fairly substantial, the quicker laps. So 5/10 on lap 57, a whole tenth, and almost 2/10 on lap 58, almost 3/10 on lap 60. But the 2 laps where Humbert was a little quicker, it's only by a little over a tenth and a little under a tenth. So Moore has the pace. It's just a matter of whether he's going to be able to close that gap. If we go green for the rest of the race here, it'll be interesting to see if we get some green flag pit stops here. That kind of wrench that might throw into the whole strategy.
Yeah, as we start seeing cars kind of mixing in with trying to stay on the lead lap from having pit versus the leaders that are still staying out and just circling around.
So we're seeing Andarza start to close back in on Shirley again, but looks like he gets to that 5/10, 6/10 gaps, and just can't really close that gap in the dirty air. So I'm wondering, maybe Andarza, one of our drivers that hasn't, Shirley as well, one of our drivers that haven't pit, wonder if his tires are starting to give out on him too as well. We saw him back out early on in this green flag run here to try to save a little bit of equipment. And he was able to close that gap on Sherwood, and one of those tires kind of equalized between these two drivers.
I think that's what we're seeing. I think you know, they've both kind of reached a point where they're at the precipice of the cliff, and you know, matching each other's pace. I don't know if either car has got some damage. As we see Dormus spin out, was he trying to come into the pits, or is he just taking advantage of spinning down the track there?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to him. I'm seeing him enter pit lane, left pit lane here. Let's see if we can find out what happened to Joseph Dormus there. So he might have been coming down for a green flag stop, got onto the apron, just came in a little too hot and lost the back end there.
Yeah, it looks like downshift too quickly, locked up the rear end, and kept it from going fully around, and also hopefully avoided unsafe pit entry penalty.
And it looks like he probably got it slowed down in time, but it's just a matter of whether he got nailed for being a little too far to the right. But Jack Hubbard going to come around, leading this one again. But Dalton Moore, he had that gap under 4 seconds, but he's fallen back a little bit here now. He's in back to 4.3 seconds. Having a look at the last lap time there for Dalton Moore, 34.77, where Jack Humbert's at the fastest lap last time by 34.4. So I wonder if Humbert saw that Dalton Moore was starting to close that gap and put a little extra into that one, and trying to open that gap back up again. So sitting comfortably again, back in about 4 seconds. Actually opening that gap up again, almost up to 5 seconds now, as Dalton Moore fading quickly here these last couple laps.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that unless the spin that Dalton had early on in his stint may have aged those tires a little bit quicker than expected, and now he's run into the same lack of tire life that our other guys that haven't pit yet are experiencing.
Yeah, it looks like something happened to Brad Harris, who we saw making a charge up front, trying to regain his lap that he was down. Coming out of pit lane, did he spin getting back up to pit? He does lose the back end on the out lap out of pit lane. Keeps it gathered up off the wall, but it's going to cost him a little bit of time, but already a lap down. Just kind of hoping for a yellow flag there to try and regain his lap.
Looks like our leader, Humpert, is coming to the pits.
Yeah, his green flag stops here. So Jack Humbert down and away for his service. Dalton Moore coming in now too as well. So now it'll be interesting. We'll see here what kind of pace Dalton Moore has on fresh tires versus Jack Humbert.
Yeah, I expected Dalton to take advantage of that 10-lap difference and be able to run in some clean air without having to chase a car in front, but I guess electing to stay on the same strategy as our effective leader, Jack Humbert.
Yeah, I think we saw those last couple laps before they came in for service where Moore kind of fell back. He lost almost a whole second on 2 laps there combined. So I wonder if he was feeling his tires were on the verge of starting to give up anyways. Why stay out there any longer and lose more time once the leader comes out with fresh tires? That gap would only open a little further. So I think really he had no choice but to come in and answer Humbert's strategy call. Now it'll be interesting to see Aiden Andarza, our only car who hasn't pit at this point in time. He's taken over top spot, but he's got to be nearing the end of his fuel load too as well, as in we should see him in any time.
Yeah, I agree. You know, Aiden seeming to be the last of the OG non-stoppers from the start of the race, and definitely being a little bit of a tire whisperer as well. So currently has everybody a lap down except for Jack Humpert, but we know that's just because of pit cycles. So we'll see when he comes down and how he shakes out in the running order compared to where he was before pits.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see here once he dives into the pits, because he's got Harris just ahead of him. And I believe that is Dalton Moore that is just in behind him. It is too as well. So Dalton Moore just 1 lap down in behind Aiden Andarza, but I'm actually surprised that Dalton Moore is so far back of Jack Humbert. He actually lost a little bit of times in. He's now about 6.7 seconds back of Jack Humbert after the pit cycle.
Yeah, I was just going to point that out. So I don't know if he had maybe a slow in lap or a slow out lap that took that gap that was hovering about 4 seconds and has it at a little over 7 seconds.
I'm looking at the pit times for both drivers. Humbert in his stall for 15.5 seconds. Dalton Moore 15.6 seconds. So he actually was quicker in and out of his box. A little slower on and off pit road itself, 3/10 slower than Jack Humbert, but I'm surprised that he's fallen down to almost 6.5 seconds back of Humbert. I wonder if he's just going a little easier on his tires here, getting them up to a temp, trying to extend the length and the life of them towards the end of the race here.
Yeah, it's possible that Moore just was unlucky and maybe came out into some traffic that Humbert didn't have to deal with as well on that initial out lap. But we'll see if we keep it green for many more laps, if Dalton's able to get better performance out of those tires, as it looks like he just set the fastest lap of the race at the 33.31.
Yeah, so maybe there was a strategy there of coming out, going a little slower on the out lap to get the tires back up to temp, but he's starting to pull back in Jack Humbert again. I mentioned it was almost 7 seconds. He's now got that gap under 6 seconds, 5.9 now up ahead to Jack Humbert. So maybe the tire whisperer is actually Dalton Moore and not Aiden Andarza, as Andarza now into the pits for his service. So he's going to come in, get his fresh tires, get a little splash of fuel. He'll head back out, see where he pops back in. I suspect he should probably cycle back in around behind Brock Shirley, maybe Joseph Dormus when he comes back out, but Jack Humbert going to regain top spot here.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway for Andarza, though, on this pit stop around lap 74, 75 is that he knows that the tires will last that long, being that this is his first pit stop of the race. And he's going to be on 8 to 10 lap fresher tires than everybody else in the event that we have a green-white checker at the end of this thing.
Yeah, he's coming out of the pits there now. Joseph Dormus goes by. Travis Plato a little ways back. So Andarza going to come back on track in 5th, but looks like he's lost actually a ton of time by staying out there. There's a couple extra laps. He was trying to put some pressure on Brock Shirley for 3rd place. Shirley now is about 5 seconds ahead of Andarza, but Shirley in much older tires here. Let's see, he pit on lap 67. Andarza came out lap 74. So Andarza going to have an extra 7 laps, 8 laps, fresher tires here, which, as you just mentioned, could come in handy as the race goes on.
Yeah, you know, Andarza lost that time staying out with everybody else being on fresher tires behind him, but that's going to be paid back to him towards the end of this race if everybody stays green.
Yeah, so interesting. We got Joseph Dormus, who we saw was holding down that 3rd place spot and was trying to chase down Dalton Moore up ahead and Humbert up ahead as both of these tube cars trying to move the walls at a couple inches here. Joseph Dormus had to collect the car off of turn 2, kept it off the walls, but now he's trying to chase down his tube brethren of Brock Shirley up ahead. As again, both those drivers rubbing up against the wall. And again, I'm going to take and say that's probably a intentional strategy, as we see both of them doing it. And we saw them doing it earlier. So it'll be interesting to see if the stewards rule against that as well, because we mentioned they were telling them in the practice session, stay off the wall. And for them to keep going up there every single time, I'd have to say that's intentional. As we're not seeing it from Jack Humbert. We're not seeing it from Dalton Moore up ahead. It's almost a tube car strategy out there right now.
Yeah, do you think instead of in the weekly meeting they said instead of wrecking each other, they put a competition to see who could put the longest black mark on the wall?
Maybe. Get out the measuring sticks after, or just drive cars up beside it and measure car lengths. But Dalton Moore is charged to the front, stalled out a little bit here, holding steady about 5.8 seconds the last couple laps. So it's kind of interesting the ebbs and flows here between Jack Humbert and Dalton Moore, where Dalton Moore will put together a couple quick laps, start to close in that gap, and then Jack Humbert answers back with a couple quick laps himself, opens that gap back up. But we're starting to get into the real championship laps here, as we've got 26 laps to go this one. So a final stretch shaping out. Our drivers should have plenty of tire to the end here. I don't think they really need to save them all that much. Well, they don't necessarily need to push that much, but the track temps have come down. Let's take a look and see what the track temps are at here now. They've come down another 7 degrees, so now down to 92 degrees as the suns went down. So that's only going to help our drivers as far as tire wear as the race finishes up.
Yeah, the top three, Humpert, Moore, and Dormus, have all been running about the same lap times, hovering around the 33.6, 33.7 mark. So gaps have stabilized at about 6 seconds between each of them. And, I think they're probably just knocking out laps, trying to save tires for a push with probably, less than 10 to go.
The body men for the Stube Tube team ain't going to be too happy when they bring those cars back into the pits here tonight, Zin, as I don't think they're going to have much left on the right side of sheet metal. The wrap guys are definitely going to be busy for next week's race.
Yeah, you almost wonder if the pit guys are knocking in the left side of the car just to match it out when they come in for the pit stops. I'm reminded of that great line in Days of Thunder when come in for the pit stop and Robert Duvall's character kicks in the door panel and says, "I don't want you to get spoiled, Buck," when he made the comment that there was one panel that wasn't damaged. So yeah, they definitely gonna have job security, so it's either happy that you have a job or upset that you have to do more work than usual.
Probably the most famous line in Days of Thunder itself is this one right here, Zin.
Hit the pace car! Hit the pace car! What for? Because you hit every other goddamn thing out there. I want you to be perfect. Go on, go, go, go!
That might fit
Perfect
perfectly.
timing as Doramus did his best aiming at the pace car impression off of turn 4 there.
There we go. That was the Stube Tube pit chat right there from the crew chief, calling down Joseph Dormus as he tries to knock down the wall a little bit. So it looks like he's finally starting to feel the effects of rubbing the wall all race here, as Brock Shirley now comfortably sitting in the final spot on the podium here, up into third place. But our biggest mover of the day still is Joseph Dormus, who started at the back with an end-of-line penalty, got himself up 10 places. A lot of that due to a number of drivers that are out in this one. We've got, I think we actually only got about 9 cars left on track here right now, counting in all of our lap cars, as we see Scotty Lanning heading back out on track. We saw him with that heavy hit not too long ago, but he's going to get back out on track, finish this one up. Our leader, Jack Humbert, from the drop of the green flag through all the cautions, he's managed to stay out front comfortably now, almost 7 seconds up on Dalton Moore. This race is his to lose at this point in time, Zin.
I would think so, yeah. Barring a late race caution, I think it's going to be hard for Dalton to make up 6.5 seconds when they're running about the same pace and on basically the same age tires. So going back to Dormus, he's got the oldest tires out of the top 5. He's got about 3 to 4 laps older tires, depending on who you compare it to with Humpert or Moore. But yeah, banging the wall is definitely not going to be helping his case here near the end of the race.
Yeah, and not only just pushing the car, just the amount of toe in he probably has in that right front from all the taps of the wall is definitely going to be burning up that right front tire. But Dalton Moore will, I guess it's go time for him. He's got anything to offer for Jack Humbert. Now's the time to do it, as we're under 20 laps to go with 19 to go in this one lap car of Brad Harris with much fresher tires, trying to make his way around the top side of our second place car, Dalton Moore. But looks like a Dalton Moore right now comfortable in second place, probably understands that he probably doesn't have enough time to chase down Jack Humbert up there. Just gonna bring the car home. Don't do anything dumb. Don't put it into the wall. Don't try and push any harder than you need to and lose the back end. This car's fairly clean. Let's bring it home clean and make the body man and the rest of the crew happy.
Yeah, I'm sure Dalton Moore is thinking of the long game here with the season championship. He's going to have a good points haul over James Johnson, who retired from the race early, and as well as gain some ground on Pereira as well ahead of him. So, Jack Humpert's ahead of him in the points, but sometimes you just realize you can't beat everybody, and you just got to take the best result that you can get, which sometimes is second place.
Yeah, Pereira came into this one leading the points over Humbert, but as you mentioned, a rough race for him. He was on the front row, got caught up, spun the tires, got into James Johnson, our pole sitter, out front early on, and kind of kicked off the start of the whole calamity we had out there with It's like we had 3 separate incidents on the drop of the green flag that caught up about 90% of our field. So Pereira going to take a hit in the championship standings. James Johnson as well, like you said, going to take a hit in the championship standings. But Jack Humbert is going to move himself back up top. Another driver who is going to benefit too as well, Dalton Moore, came into this one, I believe, in 5th place, if I remember correctly, in the points. So a nice points haul by the two of them. Should put them almost first and second in the championships. It'll be interesting to see next week how they battle it out. We'll see if Dalton Moore is able to regroup and really bring the fight to Jack Humbert.
Looks like one of the faster guys on track right now is Aiden Onzarza. He's about a half a second back from Joseph Dormus for that 4th place.
Yeah, and Darza, we've seen him be able to save his equipment here, and we've seen Dormus trying to knock down the walls over and over again. So no doubt Ondarza going to take advantage of having a fairly clean car. It looks like that car doesn't have much damage on it. He was only slightly involved in the incident on lap 1, but Joseph Dormus, we've seen him, that car is definitely not happy. So I suspect we'll see Ondarza get around him here with 14 laps to go. I think that's going to be plenty of time for him to try and find a way around to get himself into 4th place, just outside the podium. It'd be a nice finish for our admin, Aiden Ondarza.
Yeah, if he's had a mark on that car, the Scrub Daddy crew has done a great job of getting rid of it, because that car looks factory fresh.
Must be my wife likes buying all the Scrub Daddies and Scrub Mommies for the for the dishes. They just wipe off those tire marks like nothing.
Yeah, I need to remember that for the cone marks at the autocross course.
Scrub Daddy's the way, as we see Dormus up into the wall again. Ondarza looking down the inside. I think he's going to get this move stuck. If not into turn 3, he should have it completed coming out of turn 4 onto the front straight, as Ondarza able to hold the bottom line, where Dormus relying on the wall to keep him in the ballpark here.
Yeah, with those 10-lap newer tires, he can be willing to sacrifice a little bit to get a power move done on the low line here into 1 and 2.
And it looks like Dormus not ready to give up that position yet, but he's going to have to give it to Ghost here now, as Ondarza with those newer tires just going to hold on to that spot and pull away. So see if Dormus is able to stay tucked in. He's got a bit of a gap back to Travis Plato, about 11 seconds back, so not in much jeopardy of losing 5th place right now.
Yeah, I think as much as Joseph Dormus would have loved to stay in 4th, I think he's loving the wall a little bit more tonight.
Wall's kept him in the speedway here, but 12 laps to go, 11 laps to go here now, as Jack Humbert crosses the line. So getting down to the final 10 laps. Dalton Moore still holding steady, about 8 seconds back. Jack Humbert, fastest lap on the track last time by, 34.0. He's backed his pace off about half a second from his best lap, so just trying to get those tires and that car home, no doubt.
Yeah, and Dalton Moore is backed off his pace as well. He every once in a while will have a real flyover lap, but then backs off to be a few tenths slower than Humbert lap on lap. So I think Dalton's just acknowledged that Jack's got the pace tonight and is content to come home with a solid 2nd place finish.
Yeah, they still got 3 races to go in the championship, so no point in trying to push the envelope here and get yourself caught up in a wreck. So do the wise thing. Sometimes it's better to come home in the position you are than try and force yourself into a position farther down the field and causing a wreck. But looks like Aiden Ondarza hasn't really been able to pull away from Joseph Dormus, still sitting about 6 tenths back. Looks like Dormus able to utilize the draft to keep himself in that, well, I said the draft and the wall, but it looks like to keep himself in behind Aiden Ondarza, as Ondarza's now moved up into the top line too as well.
Yeah, I think Dormus has found how to do the Talladega Nights slingshot engage mode all by himself.
Shake and bake. Shake and bake.
But yeah, going back to the championship, these are the kind of nights that get you a good result, especially when you look at, in 2 weeks, these guys are going to be going to Talladega, which is tantamount to going to the craps table that we were talking about earlier. So, as much as a buffer that you can pad your stats before a luck of the draw race at a super speedway is always something that you want to do. So You know, credit to Humper, credit to Moore. They ran the race that they needed to get a good bump in the championship standings.
Oh, I'm here. I'm hearing on the radio somebody's throttle struck. I'm not sure if that was, I believe that might have been Scotty Landing, if I remember the voice from last week. But interesting to have your throttle stick in iRacing. But next week they head to Dover, which is a drastically different track than the last 2 weeks that they've been at. So it'll be interesting to see if any of our drivers in the field are a little bit more of a shorter track specialist than what they are here at Atlanta last week and Homestead this week. But as you mentioned, Talladega the week after. And they're going to wrap it up at Charlotte, which is another track kind of similar to Homestead, I would say, Zin. At a similar time of layout where you can burn up the tires quick if you push too hard, and you can't just go full throttle the whole way around.
Yeah, the opening part of a race at Charlotte is a little bit like, but then it turns into a more Homestead type race where you can easily tear up your equipment if you're not careful with it. So it's a great end of season track. It'll be interesting to see how these guys finish the season out.
Yeah, the old Charlotte cutting across the front straight too as well always seems to breed a little bit of carnage as races go on, where you get drivers that forget there's still 2 or 3 more lanes of cars that could be up on your outside as you're cutting through there and coming back up on track. But a driver who's not worrying about that right now, 5 laps to go, Jack Humbert. Again, he's led it from the drop of the green flag. Well, I shouldn't say the drop of the green flag. He started on the second row, was able to capitalize from Pereira and Johnson's issue at the drop of the green flag. From there, he's kept it out front, kept his nose clean, not had any issues with lap traffic either, really. He's been able to work through them fairly cleanly too, as well as in. And other than a little bit of tire debris kick up on the front of that car, it looks almost like he pulled it off the trailer about an hour and a half ago.
Absolutely. He's been able to stretch that lead out over Dalton Moore to 11.5 seconds now. So, you know, I think my vote for driver of the day would have to go to Jack Humper for managing this race as well as he has.
Yeah, race management on point here for Jack Humbert and the Motorcraft teams. Moves around the 4 car of Joseph Dormus, so that's going to put Dormus a lap down. So only our top 4 now are the only cars on the lead lap, just to show you what kind of attrition we've had in this one. Homestead, I've never known Homestead to be this difficult, but I've got a whole new respect for Homestead. Racing it during the day and those track temps is a whole other beast.
Yeah, my experience at Homestead in the daytime is usually on the road course, so definitely looked to be a massive tire grader out there before the sun went down.
Yeah, no doubt. 2 laps to go. Our leader into turn 2, Jack Humbert, has it on cruise control. Dalton Moore comfortably in second place. Another car that looks fairly clean, the Budweiser machine. Nice run today for him. Been able to manage his equipment from start to finish. Brock Shirley currently holding down third. Our top stoop tube machine. He might actually be the only stoop tube machine left in the race, actually. Where's it? Dormus? Yeah, Dormus is still going 2 as well. So it's 2 of the stoop tube machines left, 2 of the 4 I think we started with. So a rough day for the stoop tube team, but they're going to bring home at least 2 cars in the top 5. Aiden Andarza scrub-daddied off his bad luck from last week, and with 1 lap to go, he's going to bring himself a nice P4 finish if he can hold on to that spot.
Yeah, it looks like Brad Harris had a spin on the front stretch and parked it and immediately towed to keep it going green. So thank you for that, to allow these guys to finish.
There we go. Jack Humbert comes across to take the win. Congratulations to him. Dalton Morgan hold on to second. Shirley coming across. Here now he's on the back stretch. Just kind of shows you how much of a gap our top 2 had over the rest of the pack. Brock Shirley into turn 3. In between 3 and 4 here now. He's going to head across the front line. Aiden Andarza another 3 seconds back of him too as well. They're going to finish up as there are only 4 cars on the lead lap, so well done by them. Joseph Dormus comes home first car lap down. Travis Plato into 6th place, and that's going to be our final car coming across to finish up the line. So a battle of attrition here is in, but a couple of our drivers able to work their way through that attrition. Jack Humbert, congrats to him. Top spot easily on this one, managing his equipment to the very end. So well done for him. But let's take a look at our official results now that we've had all of our drivers across the line. Jack Humbert, as we saw, going to take that one 13 seconds over Dalton Moore. Brock Shirley going to bring it home in the final step on the podium. Aiden Andarza in 4th. Joseph Dormus rounds out the top 5. Travis Plato in 6th. Tyler Olson in 7th. Scotty Lanning in 8th. Brad Harris in 9th. Christopher Toppings rounding out the top 10. Noah Jones, James Johnson, Eric Stuber, Jonathan Pereira, Dustin Mooney, and Guy Oliveira going to round out the field. A number of those drivers wrapped up in the lap 1 incident, and then unfortunately we didn't see them back the rest of the race. But Jack Humbert going to burn the tires off on this one. Well deserved. Park it on the front stretch, so hats off to him.
Absolutely. Just a class defining lesson in tire management and race management overall, staying out of trouble, avoiding those early wrecks early on, and just showed it how it's done.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can keep up the pace next week at Dover. See if James Johnson can come back to battle and offer something for him. Jonathan Pereira, those were our front row drivers that got wrapped up in something early this race, so we'll see if they regroup, head back into Dover. No doubt they'll want to kind of get some revenge over this race, the start of this one. But looks like Jack Humbert not going to make his way into the booth. We'll give him another minute or two here to see if he makes it in. But looks like Brad Harris had an incident on the last lap. Let's quickly take a look and see what happened to him. As you mentioned, he lost it on the last lap, was able to keep it going. So he just got loose out of turn 4. Oh, a little kiss of the wall there. But I'm actually surprised there was no yellow that came out for that. But nice work by him. Quickly toes so that the race could finish under green without a green-white checker. Although it would have been interesting to see if Dalton Moore had anything to offer Jack Humbert if he would have had a green-white checker.
Yeah, I think the big winner, if we did have a green-white checker, would have been Aiden Ondarza there with the 10-lap newer tires and everybody in front of him. But, sometimes all it takes is just getting a good jump on the restart and be able to defend through 1 and 2, and you're set from there. So if you can't really get the move done going into 1 at some of these tracks, it's going to be hard to get a pass done, fresh tires or not.
Yeah. It looks like Jack Humbert not going to join us, so we will sign off for this evening. Thanks to all in chat. Blake Nance, appreciate the comments. We'll catch you back next week, same time, same place, as we're going to head to Dover and see how our drivers can do there. Again, for Racer Nexus, I'm Rob Campbell. In the booth with me, Brian Zinn. We will catch you next time. Bye for now.